All right, guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the CX Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Brady-Cesana. Super pumped for today's show, guys. We have an awesome guest and of a very short list of two-time CXEP guests and members of the CX Nation, Lee Roquet, CEO of Finch. Lee, say hello to the CX Nation, my friend.
Hello, and Adrian, it is so great to be back. I know it's been a bit of time, and it's great to see the evolution of CXE and to come back to talk to you about stuff we're so passionate about. So I'm excited to be here.
Dude, I'm pumped. And guys, full candor, couple bits of information that we need to disclose right out of the gates. Number one, Lee has just a plethora of customer-focused business experience, similar to every one of us that's listening to the show right now. Lee has spent time at a bunch of different organizations dealing with customer experience, customer success, customer design thinking. How does it relate to marketing? How does it relate to sales? How does it relate to product and ops? And Lee and I have become friends over the last couple of years because number one, we share this intimate passion for CX and CS and all the things under the customer-centric sun. But number two, we've been able to have the luxury and the fortune of working together now several different times. And so I'm pumped, Lee, to get into it. But I do want to call it one more thing. For our listeners, today's a cool episode because Lee, just like every single one of us, has, and he's going to jump in and do the stepping stones question as always, but Lee is one of the few people that I believe is taking a new path in many executive leadership teams across the world, which is he walked his way up from a customer-facing role all the way into the CEO role. And really, I'm not trying to like blow smoke, but like I think I'm excited for today's show because we don't get too many people that basically started off the journey working in a CX or a CS leadership capacity and then get the opportunity and get the fortune like you do right now, sir, to be leading a team like Finch. So I'm pumped, man. So why don't we start off today's show? Let's spend a couple of minutes just talking about your background. Do the refresher for some of our listeners that didn't hear you I think it was almost 100 episodes ago, Lee.
I know.
So it's been some time, but spend a couple of minutes sharing your story, man, and your own stepping stones for how you got into this whole space and how you came to be the CEO of Finch today.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's funny when you look back and go, yeah, here I am today, and you think about all the steps that get you to your current position, and what an opportunity. And so right now, I mean, I'm CEO of a global digital marketing agency and software company, which is great because that's kind of my background. But really, I mean, we specialize in profitable revenue growth for our customers and telling a better story with data. But really, which is great for me because I'm always still super passionate about the customer experience management, and really elevating that customer journey joy that we can do at our business. But when we first met, I was just stepping into the chief customer officer role at a company, the global BI company, and so that was kind of an 8-year run for me, and that was, I think, the best part of starting was getting to meet you and bringing you in to help us with some of the things that like we're just such a tribe, right? I mean, no one knows everything. Yep. It's changing so fast, so it's been really great to be able to have you part of that journey for me. And then prior to that, VP of customer experience at 2 other software companies. And then I had a 1-year stint as vice president of marketing and operations at a startup, which was super fun because it was in the truck bed storage accessory space, and a total left turn from software and software sales and software support, but really was a fun part of the journey that I've been on. So yeah, and today now I'm a CEO of a company and 55 people, global presence, and really get to figure out how to balance the needs of the CX and experience to also just figuring out how to balance the margins and budgets and success of the business. So it's been an interesting transition for me just these last, it's about 10 months now. And it's funny, I chuckle at myself now looking back at being in VP roles going, damn it, the freaking people at the top don't get it. And they're always saying no to the shit that I know is super important.
I was going to call you out on that. I was going to say, tell the people what they really want to know, which is now you know the difference of the flip of the seats, right? Like some of us CXers, we can get so freaking frustrated with our executive leadership team. But now you know firsthand balancing this stuff and managing priorities and managing different goals and different objectives across different teams. And there's always different things that you're always plugging on. Not so easy, right?
No, very much so. I mean, that's been probably the most eye-opening is is being able to kind of step back and reflect on that, like, and looking at the health of the organization that I'm in. And it's, it's funny, I was talking with some other people about this similar thing. And like every organization that I've been into, it's almost like you just pick up your playbook, blow the dust off, and go starting from square one, because
Yep.
everybody's got the same types of problems. I mean, everyone's trying to acquire business at the most, affordable way,
Definitely.
retain as much business as you can, and manage costs, right?
Yep. 100%. Yep.
So now that
So
I kind of have to look at that, and for me, it's, it's before it was just like my department, the best for the customer and my team. And I mean, I don't want to say I didn't care about the larger, health, but I was really focused on just hitting my CTAs and making sure we were the most successful and best department, and everybody was happy and customers renewed. And I didn't think about, well, the overall larger health of the organization. What are the other initiatives? Like, how do we get more customers? What is marketing spending really to drive that? And then figuring out, that balance. And now I know why I was told no. And I want to hire 3 more people, and I want the experience to be at a 5. Well,
yeah.
4 is really good, and we should be
Yeah,
really happy
right,
with that,
right.
right?
Yeah. Lee, one of the things that I've always loved about you, and one of the things that I've always admired about the way that you have built some of your teams, built some of the past companies that I've seen anyway. But on your LinkedIn profile, you say, "I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk." When it comes to driving customer satisfaction, bottom line success, believe in balancing business objectives with customer success outcomes, ensuring that both the company and our valued customers thrive. My secret sauce, it's a mix of strategic pre-sales and post-sales processes, customer journey mapping, team building, creating playbooks that lead to success, fostering knowledge, reuse, and building vibrant communities, and designing brand loyalty programs that make everyone say, wow. Number one, awesome. But dude, now you're in a CEO role. So like, to your point, I know there's all these different things going on, but now you're really in a position where leveraging some of those things. And I know, guys, I tell Lee all the time, Lee and I have the pleasure of talking like almost on a weekly basis, but like, I tell you this all the time, Lee, and I think I'm going to be right. And I wish there's a way, I hope that there's a way that we could track this, but like, I truly believe that there's going to be a huge cohort of future CEOs downstream that are literally going to come from the CXO and the CCO realm. And I think it's because of, like, when you think about what you said, understanding pre-sales, understanding post-sales, understanding the entire journey, then figuring out how to bake that shit into, how does product work? How does ops work? How does this
Yeah.
financially impact our company? I, Look, I think that that's one of the things about, like, when I talk about customer focused business leaders, it's being able to juggle all that stuff. It's being able to
Yeah.
manage all these plates, and it's doing the best you can with the resources, the team, and the controllable variables you got in front of you to make shit happen every single solitary day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think you can see this already happening. I mean, look at the shift with chief marketing officers. I mean, just in the last few years, they're getting replaced by chief revenue officers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, and not to say that, sorry, CMOs out there, but I think there just is a shift for one, I think a bit more accountability, but again, tying more of the marketing and sales and revenue to the overall health of the business. And I think, and one thing that I just love, and I think this is just, it's been such a great validation of the last 10 years when, you had to beg and just try to find pennies in the couch cushions to get any kind of respect for CX programs. And now CX, customer experience, the CSM roles, lifetime value. I mean, everything's measured in the way we look at selling organizations with your earned growth rates and your ARR. I mean, everything is kind of pivoted to that health of the book of business, right?
Yep.
What, 85% of your recurring revenue should be coming from your healthy customer base, right? And so, as you scale and grow, I mean, that balance is so key. And so I do agree. I think leaders that can see, and I've always just had this mindset of like, take all of the silos and turn them on the side, and everybody's trying to follow the customer buying journey path, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's contributing. So the more that you can capture the knowledge and reuse it, document your moments that matter,
Yep.
kill those, especially onboarding. And I mean, as soon as you win a deal, you're in, fight for the right to renew, right? I mean, that's the
Yep.
whole premise of what a business, should be doing, because your time to value and also your time to profitability. For most businesses, when you do that analysis, it's year 2. It can be almost year three for some, big organizations that have to push a lot of people at getting something out the door. So, I think having that operational mindset of how does everything connect.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I think that the CXO, the COOs who get it and really focus on balancing sales. Everybody's on, and I didn't believe this, until probably in the last couple of years, working with some really great CROs and sales and leaders. We're all on the same team, and
Yeah.
so the infighting that happens between handovers of customers, like that leaves an impression on the customer experience, and everything you're trying to do is for the health of your business.
100%.
So,
Yep.
getting that understanding, like we're all in sales, we're all in support, we're all in product, we're all in finance and operations. Like that's the mentality you have to have, and building a culture that supports that. I mean, that's hard. It's a battle every day to get that working.
The comment you just made about the natural organic silos that form in every freaking company in the world. And this is the crazy part is like, it's almost like when you get to 100, 50, let's go 50. You get to 50
Yeah.
people. Naturally, you get your sales cluster, you got your sales and marketing cluster, you've got your operative cluster, you've got maybe a few people that are running leadership where they're trying to do all these things and trying to navigate. But like the bigger the business gets, the bigger the walls, the higher the walls become,
Yeah. Yeah.
harder it is to penetrate. And then you and I talk about this all the time, but like it's almost like as the organization scales, the organization gets bigger. One of the biggest things that a CX executive or a customer success executive can spend their time on or really focusing on, I hate to say it's not blowing them down, it's building bridges, or it's
Yeah.
connecting electrical and plumbing from silo one to silo two so that at least there's some connectivity. And whether that's running a VOC task force or getting certain SMEs or certain leaders minimum on a monthly or biweekly basis to come around a table and look at that journey, look at the customer journey, look at all the things that are happening, look at the opportunities, the threats. You mentioned the CTAs, man. Like a lot of companies that are killing it still technically struggle with CTA management, right? Identifying calls to action, assigning or delegating, timelining, and getting shit done, moving rocks
Yeah.
every damn day.
That's been the hardest thing, just, stepping into a role where one, now I have to look at like, well, it's prioritization is a big one, right? Because everything is important to everyone. Every department has their like we must haves. Well, now you got, 5 departments and everyone's got 5 things. Now you're like, okay, how do I prioritize that? And
It
then,
becomes a web.
you know,
It becomes like a complex web real
oh
fast.
my God, it really is. And
Yeah.
then, so I think again, the prioritization and really like what's the most important thing to the health of the business. And I think I probably 5 years ago, again, kind of putting on my VP hat and was just like, as long as my team are awesome and I'm killing it. But again, looking at like, if the business health is at a place where you can offer those great experiences for your team, awesome. But if you're trying to do those great experiences at I guess what's at the detriment of the health of the business,
Yep.
then you're not doing, I guess my shepherdship is to try to make the business as healthy as possible so that I can make sure that my team can have a great experience to provide our customers with an even better experience, right?
Yep.
So that balance of prioritization is funny when you think about like the startup, like the small little startup company. There's so much awesomeness about that. If you can sit in a room together and everyone's collaborating, passion, it's got its own problems, right? And then
Yep.
when you like, yeah, growing to be 25, 50, like God, the complexity of things that change and the struggles you have to deal with. I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It is. Dude, let's dive into the first pillar of team, brother. I'd love for you to spend a couple of minutes talking about Finch. Spend a couple of
Mhm.
minutes talking about what y'all are doing with your customers at Finch, and then I'd love for you to spend a few minutes kind of talking about how the team has been built at Finch and some of the different focus areas that you guys do have on board and that you do have helping to manage and lead and take care of the customer experiences that you folks are building for your customers every single day.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess just to give a little context to you, Finch is a company that's been around for almost 18 years now. Started as really a software company that focused on how can we remove steps in the Google automation, campaign management, keyword management in the old days, and that spawned into an agency. And we always joke we're the smallest global company you'll ever meet. We've got offices in the U.S., offices in Dublin, and then we've got a team in Manila. So, but really, I mean, we're here to really help grow our customers' businesses. Like we take this relationship really, it's people are entrusting us with their money to help them get their brand out, to sell, to grow their business. And so it's super fun, but it also it comes with a lot of stress on that front. But there's so much fun happening in the global kind of digital marketing space. Our agency is a software company too, so that makes it fun because that's my background. So really with our team, I mean, we've got we've had to change a couple things because we started off with, we've got a lot of really smart, passionate people who love what they do. And the way that our global agency is kind of shifting, and actually the impact of kind of what's happening with AI, and we were for a lot of years very specialized. Like we did paid search and social and automation and Amazon only. So now customers are churning or looking for more help across services we don't provide. And so for us, we've been making a shift, and this is how I kind of brought you in to help us as well. So, we've got people who are super smart in managing people's campaigns and getting the creative out the door and making sure we're spending wisely in the right channels. But when it comes to managing the customer on a strategic level or from a business mindset, that's just not a skill set our team has. So, we've had to really work on we're rebuilding our team to have our strategy business team, because that's what customers are like, okay, how do I manage acquisition, retention, and cost management? And I need people to be able to speak about the health of the business, not just how's your ROAS doing in your,
right.
Your Google account or whatever.
Yep.
So that's been a big shift. So now we're building our strategy team, and we have an operations team that does all the heavy lifting around getting the campaigns out, monitoring A/B testing, making sure that the performance is hitting what we said and where we need to go. And if there's issues, we can roll that up to the CSMs, who can then talk to the customer in that mindset. So it's been a pretty big shift for us just in the last 12 months of trying to build that scalability of offering a more trusted advisor relationship, because that's what customers are wanting now. They're like, it's funny because, or funny or sad, agencies don't have the best name. I mean, we are kind of the, we can come off as, I think, and I don't want to be negative on agencies, but I think, there's been a lot of overpromising and not a lot of delivery, and not a lot of transparency in how businesses work. And I think, 10 years ago, it was super easy. You're like, give me your money. I'll put it in Google. I'll make you 10x. Everyone's happy. And that is just now shifted to, it's really hard. And so having to set really clear expectations. So our team having to really be, again, it's the trusted advisor of having to tell people I need 40% growth. I'm like, yeah, but your data only shows that you can grow 10. So either we're not the right partner for you, or you need to realize this is a achievable growth success plan that we are going to build together. And it might take you 2 years, not 3 months.
So, two thoughts. Number one, I love that, because I remember even several years back, Yellowfin, like, you've always talked about this notion of strategic advisor, strategic partner on the CS side. So listeners, like, and don't get me wrong, Lee, I think me and you talk about this a lot of really woke CX and CS leaders. They already know this. They already know that they have revenue responsibilities. They absolutely are a part of revenue generating activities, are absolutely a part of not just net revenue retention, but net revenue growth. And then they're absolutely a part of feeding into the sales and the revenue side, potential leads, potential prospects, potential opportunities, partnerships. Me and you talk about partnerships all the time, because like, the CSM in today's world really should be at a level where they understand not only not only that customer's success plan that originally brought them into even wanting to work with you and understanding the things that they need help with, that they need additional support with, what their goals are, what their success measures might even look like. But once you start to master that, you know, regardless of what your product or your service is, part of the value or part of the ease of retaining customers, it really comes from understanding their account or their business or their goals or their struggles so well that you can be helping and traversing all the way outside of the product, outside of the software, outside of the basics. It could be introductions, it could be industry insights, it could be connecting dots where it's like, hey, customer, you know, I know that you're in the financial sector, just got off of an interesting QBR with another customer that's in a totally different sector. Maybe they're in the automotive sector, but you're like, I might have an idea, and I don't know if it would be so like that type of level of like strategic advisory or partnership.
Yeah.
That stuff is gold. Now, I think we both know because we're friends with a lot of the big CX and CS community that's out there. Always easier said than done, right? It's
Oh
always
yeah.
easier said than done. But like that's some of the stuff that, especially with what companies and where certain market rates and compensation rates have gotten in our space. Like, and you and I talk about this a lot, but like, dude, you know, you've got companies out there that are paying their CSMs $100,000 to maybe manage $1 million with
Yeah.
no retention goals and then
Yeah.
with no net new revenue growth on top of that. So on your million, are you going to at least give me a new 100,000 per year so that at a minimum I see some compound growth, and then at a minimum I know that every single year you're going to grow this thing. So I'm not only supporting costs, but I'm actually still growing to the bottom line. We both know that a lot of companies don't even remotely think about some of that stuff. And then capacity, right? So they don't think
Yeah.
about necessarily associating which CS talent or which CS champions
Yeah.
are applied to different needs in the portfolio. And they're not thinking about capacity. So there's all these different things that, and I love that you were in the weeds for a long time, my friend. So now you're in a different role where
Oh yeah.
you understand some of this stuff, and it's probably a little bit
Well,
easier for you to have
I'll,
some empathy when certain people are asking for things or need certain changes or they need
well, yeah.
investments to come into the business.
Yeah, one of the big changes I've just had is and I was oh man, I fought tooth and nail in the past to like I didn't like my CSMs ever having commissions or any of that. I liked them to have a role where they're like paid a proper wage, and their relationship and driving, you know, renewals and the process and all of that. But now I kind of been back into I've been kind of, you know, getting back into it and going, okay, well, maybe a commission growth
Yeah,
retention bonus structure is not a bad thing. And so yeah, I've kind of I'm like, you know, yeah, I mean, if I have a book of business and I have an awesome person, I want to make sure that they get everything they're due, but we need to make sure everybody that's coming in every day is helping to paddle, right? And so, you know, the book of business, if you got start the year and you got to, let's say, 20 accounts, and you got a revenue responsibility.
yep,
You're in sales, you're in support, you're in business health mode. And
yep,
if we lose account, like think about how you're going to help grow and retain and get referrals, because everyone's got, I mean, it's everyone in my organization has to help. Like
yeah,
everyone has to be talking to their friends. And I think back to your one point of finding those partnerships, you know, I think one of the things that, you know, which I find, we did this just a while back, is go through your accounts. And if you can, like in the business we're in, what if you can do two brands that can co-market something, share, you know, their first person data, their email lists, and now you've expanded something, you've offered more value. But like just like little ideas like that
totally.
of how the team can come together and go, okay, I got a crazy idea. What if we do tube socks and, you know, whatever, toothpaste, and have a fun, you know, campaign on that.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. It's funny, like even so, like partnership opportunities, co-collaboration opportunities. I'm constantly blown away by too. Some of these companies that technically they're doing an excellent job and they're growing their business, they're scaling, they've already achieved tens of millions of dollars of annual growth. But even just simple things like industry insights, man, and like me and my team at CX will sit inside of some of these working sessions. We're looking at QBRs, we're looking at key account reviews, or we're looking at some of these portfolio review activities, and we see opportunities for again like most POCs are so freaking, they're just like the rest of us. They're
Yeah,
going from meeting to meeting to meeting.
yeah,
There's probably too much stuff on their plate. There's so much noise. It's not even freaking, there's just
yeah,
constantly so much noise in today's world. And so, like, even just industry insights, themes, trends, new news occurrences. So like CSM, your or CS leaders that are listening right now, like even just by way of like, let's go with my financial example. You coming on with your next QBR on a financial focused customer, talking about landscape of things that have changed in the last 30 days with finance.
Yeah.
How has it impacted or has it changed our customer success plan? Are there new goals that's just come from this type of a change? One last example. We've worked with a handful of companies, Lee, that have the fortune of working with some really big companies. So Fortune 500s, Fortune 1000s. Guys, there is so much information under the sun about Fortune 1000s. If you're not coming to a QBR fully loaded with everything that's happened inside of that business,
Mm.
especially on an executive level, because executive level changes, executive news, executive PR, this stuff is throwing a ton of signals at us that we can leverage, and we can kind of come back to our customers with ideas, come back to just making sure we're constantly refining expectations. Because really, great customer success is like, it's not just how are we doing and what can I do for you? It's how are we doing? What can we do more of?
Yep.
And then what other areas could we potentially take off of your plate, or could we provide additional support so that we keep elevating the level of the strategic advisor, or the strategic partner
Yeah.
status that we're going for?
And I think the key thing here with the people that are, representing your brand for, to your customers is you got to make sure that you never lose the narrative of value. Like you got to make sure that if you're that CSM and you have a book of business, yeah, use the tools you have, the benchmarking, anything you can do to add some value and show that you're engaged and interested in their outcomes. But make sure that you're the one owning the narrative to their, not just your main contact, but the buying team that actually brought you in to their business. Make sure you see at least once a month you're sending a summary of like to the CEO, to the person that made that sin. Because if you don't, your single point of contact becomes the narrative storyteller for your value. And when that person leaves or they're out on whatever, you become a line item in the CFO's list, and they have no idea what you're doing, and you're now at risk. So that, to me, that's a big focus that I have for my team, is really focusing on elevating that narrative.
I love it. I love it. Lee, I'd love for you to spend a couple of minutes diving into the second pillar of tools. Can you spend a couple of minutes kind of talking about, number one, I definitely want you to give the high level on the Finch tool and all the awesome things that you guys are doing with your customer base with Finch. But then I'd love, if you could share, I'd love to kind of understand what other tools are you guys using, or what other software, what other technology fits into today's tech stack. I'd love to just kind of have you spend a couple of minutes talking about the tools.
Yeah, it's funny. I definitely took the Adrian playbook when I first stepped in. As you kind of step into, I guess the CEO role, you get access to everything. And
Yeah,
so
right.
doing that audit of going, how much are we spending on software and tools? And come to find out we have 87 applications,
Yep.
and every department had to have their own thing. And then just looking at that, I mean, we went from probably close to $400,000 a year down to about 200. I mean, saved a couple $100,000, which is,
100%.
getting those quick wins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I'll talk about the tech stack in a minute, but like what we're trying to do on the Finch side and is really just leveraging. I'm fortunate enough to spend just over 8 years at a great global BI company. Learned a ton about how important data is, creating a data culture. But really, what I've learned is most of us are not data analysts. Like 99% of people in a business are business users.
Totally.
Like we're so busy, like you said, and I can't look at a table report and then kind of try to get my assumption of what's going on, because that's just not, I don't have time of the day. But I want the easy button. I want a beautiful looking dashboard that tells me what's going on, and if I need to escalate or drill into it,
Yep.
I can ask someone for help. I can elevate that to somebody else. But I know exactly, just tell me the health of my business. Do I have a dumpster fire today, or can I go do some actual work? Right.
Yeah, right.
So for us, that's really what we're trying to do. We've got a 18-year legacy of collecting data, rolling up data in the marketing space, and really just empowering end users, our CSMs, to do a better job to represent the trust that our customers have with the money they've given us to help grow their business. But really, we're trying to elevate the collaboration, making sure that we have accountability and transparency. And really, my goal is to bring the CX, the learnings of the four pillars into actually what we do every day to bring the customer closer, and hold them accountable with success plans and define goals and CTAs and milestones and all that, because it's a partnership. And I want to make sure I have a platform that helps make sure that everybody, my team and the customer, is held accountable, but also that we can celebrate and find opportunities for growth. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
really what we're trying to do with our application. So on that front, and then internally, like I said earlier, we started with an audit, and I think putting those controls in early, like, because I was like, man, we have 87 applications, and who's using these? And come on, you got 3 people, and that's how it is with small. You get,
Totally.
each department has the approval to hire their or get their own software, and before you know it, it's just, but that doesn't, and it's hard to connect the whole company
Yep.
across systems, and so I've been fortunate to. I've built CRMs in the old days, aging myself, and I've been able to have help different helps. Sales. I was on Salesforce for 15 years. We have HubSpot now just because it kind of fits our need, and we're doing HubSpot for our website, all of our marketing, as well as sales.
Yep.
Definitely was trying to get kind of the whole company on it. Just didn't meet our need for ticketing and some of the back end office stuff. So, this was interesting because I mean, operations is definitely my background passion, and I learned really early in roles. Luckily, I had a COO when I was starting in my CX journey, who was just like, "You seem like you're eager. Go study on and learn all the systems we should have to make the company better." And so, usually I can be a little tenacious and bullheaded as I'm a tourist, but usually in the past, I brought HubSpot in and we made that switch because we actually were on Salesforce, and I just thought it would be a one more affordable for the size company we are. But I did try to 2 years ago shove HubSpot down everyone's throats, and that's kind of just a lesson learned on just in the last couple of months, because I stopped and I gathered the feedback and listened to the team and in the customer. It just wasn't working for us. So what I did was I put a team together and I said, okay, guys, you're going to go out and find the best solution, because I was also having problems with adoption because I shoved it down everyone's throats. And so I said, you guys go find the best tool, but my only requirement, and I'm not going to, and it was hard for me not to want to be involved in this. I want 100% or near 100% adoption from the team.
Yep.
So whatever you decide, I will support, but you gotta help improve the efficiency and the quality of work. And I'll give it to them. They went out. I was kind of part of the team, but I kept my mouth shut, and we looked at 5 or 6 CRMs for ticketing systems and communication. And the team came back, and they have basically been able to build a whole ticketing automation system in Asana. And it fits our business model because our customers, we're doing project management for
Yeah. Yeah.
agency,
Yeah. Yeah.
running. So it's really about, we have very personal engagement with our customers, but then the task behind is like 5 teams have to be involved with, delivering the output. And so really what was pretty amazing is they did it. Like every department is now part of Asana and project boards, and we've automated everything from HubSpot all the way through. We're capturing the right information. It's going into launching templatized launches for onboarding customers. All the requests that go into all of our teams goes through that. It's pretty impressive, and it wouldn't have been something that I thought traditionally would have worked, but the team came back, and everyone in the company is using it now.
That's awesome. So, you bring up, this is an awesome point that you're bringing up, because I've been just almost maniacally focused on this for the last year, but this conversation of how companies across planet Earth can get better at the utility of their tech stack needs to become a paramount discussion in every company. And by the way, I've had the fortune now of over the last 5 years, probably talked with over 1,000 customer focused business leaders that are in similar roles to you, where they have not only are they in incredible positions, running incredible teams and incredible companies, but they were doing a bunch of pretty darn good stuff even to get into that seat. So these are people that are experienced, they've seen a lot, they've done a lot, they touch a lot. And the reality is what you just said, man, is like, number one, we do have a software problem across planet Earth. There's this
Oh yeah.
tendency to just go and almost like it's a library, just pull a book off the shelf and throw it on the table, and then we'll figure shit out later. That doesn't work. Number one. Number two, I would argue, me and you talk about this literally all the time, but like there's an opportunity cost associated with that too. So you're going to be a business that has 27, 37, 87 tools. All right, show me which people in the company outside of maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people that are privy or have access to all of the information in the business. Show who are the people that actually know who's using these tools, what are they connected to, who's the owner, what's the utilization rate. As you know very well with CXC Lead, that's a big part of what we've almost shifted our focus on, is like it's team assessment performance and it's tech stack utilization assessment and performance, because there's an opportunity. This is where employees and internal teams confusion develops. Then if you want to talk about data, I know that you love data just as much as I do. Then it becomes even harder to connect data sets and aggregate a big picture view. And then let's talk about customer portfolio health. You got 87 tools, and your team right now is reporting 25% in the green, maybe 50% in the yellow, and then another 25% in the red. If you have 87 tools, I'm not just going to take that at face value that that's a green, that's yellow, that's red. I want to do a little bit of digging, because unless it's coming from a few primary, fully adopted, fully utilized, fully leveraged solutions, dude, I don't know. Like
I agree.
I want to understand that before I can actually go to the CEO or go to a board in your case and say, unequivocally, I'm positive that this percentage of our portfolio is ready to expand. X percentage of our portfolio might need to go or might be at risk of churn, or maybe there's even controllable churn going on, where, hey, we've gotten to the business to a certain point where now these types of customers, they don't work anymore. They're not going to help get this business to the next level. So this is hard, but like it's tough because we live in the age of where like any problem that you could think of under the sun has got an app.
There's a solution for it.
There's literally.
Well, and I think that's been a problem in the last 5 years. I think, and even probably prior to that, once, it's software will solve that. And it only solves it if everybody uses it and you get the most value out of it. And I think, that's the thing where I'm like, I really wanted to reduce as many systems as possible, because one, it takes a lot of time to manage systems and get data, and they're expensive. Like, I mean,
they're super expensive.
I am a super fan of Gainsight. I love, the CEO. I love everything he's done there. But you got your CRM, and then you add that on, and it's another system, and it's like, before you know it, you're a couple $100,000 into something that it's slowing your team down.
Yep.
So to me, I'm always like, I'd rather have you spend more time with the customer and people helping people
than
having to chase. And that's the general feedback, is like, I don't know where the data is. And when I don't know how to use it to actually do my job.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree with that. Love to jump into the third pillar, process, and we'll only spend a minute or two on this because I know that process is everyone's least sexy of the pillars. I get it, except for I think process
is the most important, though.
It holds all this stuff together. Exactly. I know it doesn't sound like it's the best, but
God, it can be the hardest one to, and especially I think if you don't understand your people's process and workflow, and what the customer needs, and then you layer your software on top, and then you're now trying to build process around, and you kind of have to start with your process and then kind of build out. But I mean, is the hardest thing, and especially because each department has their own process.
Exactly. Yep.
But so that's where trying to tip things horizontally, and like, everyone can do their own thing, but it's got to tie to a moment that matters on the customer journey, buying journey, right? The customer experience, whatever you're doing. I mean, that's where it's funny, because I used to kind of be like, customer journey. God, shut up, Adrian. But now I go back
Is this
to
really
like,
important? Is this really going to work, Adrian?
So important, like, to really understand, because then if you can hang your process, your team, your systems off something that's going to drive a moment that matters, that's a home run.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Has there been either a tool or even just a methodology that you've seen over your career, Lee, not even just at Finch, man, but like some of
Yeah.
the past, but has there been like, if you were to give our listeners like one idea or two ideas around how they can start kind of thinking about maturing or evolving or optimizing the way that they think about playbooks or SOPs or knowledge base or all the content that's, and again, we've said this a few times just in today's episode, but like, dude, things are changing so freaking fast right
Mm.
now. And by the way, it's funny. I've on 2 or 3 meetings today, we were talking about optimal cadence for controlling and monitoring on living playbooks and specifically FAQ content. And
Yeah.
2 of the 3 conversations, 2 of them are SaaS companies. And I was like, well, how often are we providing our product updates and what type of volume of product updates are we pushing out each month? And then how is that being communicated to the customer portfolio?
Mm.
And there's a bunch of different
Even to
answers.
your own team.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like a big part of this is to make sure that the internal expectations and the internal knowledge is there so that everyone has the ability to load the lips when they go off and they talk to the entire customer portfolio base about what these things, what they are, what's important, what do you need to know,
Yeah.
what's nice to know, and then most importantly, what do you do when some of the stuff that isn't in there isn't findable? How do you get in touch with us right away so that you know that there's always a person that can actually take that off and give you back the answers or the information you need?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, God, going back to, it's funny because I've been kind of, I don't know, yeah, going back to kind of old school, like, okay, what do we really need to be successful? And I think, kind of the piece we were talking about earlier, which is like, man, it seems like it was so easy that everybody just like, let's just load software for that. Like, we don't have to talk to the customer. We'll just like, we have 17 applications that can do all that for us. And then what kind of happens is, again, you get farther and farther away from what you're actually trying to achieve. And so I guess for me, looking at kind of the process or a system that really kind of changes everything is, again, I'm going back to, and I'm super excited about AI. Let me just say, I think the core of what we're trying to do is capture knowledge, reuse knowledge, and then I'm a big fan of the KCS model and just building a team collective knowledge, but really creating a community around your knowledge that you have within your organization. And before, that was such a manual thing you had to do. Now, man, if you've got, I mean, you can bring ChatGPT in-house, you can point it to your database. I mean, you have any kind of, knowledge management methodology in place. I mean, that's a gold mine. It's so great to be able to just be like, how do I do this and give that to your team, but also to your customers. We've just launched Guru internally just to help collectively do a better job of capturing knowledge, reusing knowledge, and holding our SMEs accountable to continue to share what's happening out, not only with our customers, but what's happening in the industry, because it's changing so fast. And so I think, again, I keep going back to the root. It's like, it's the customer journey matters. Pick the moments, don't try to I mean, don't build a whole room of, mapping out your journey. I think those days for me are, it's a waste of time. I think getting those 5 or 6 moments that matter, really hone in on that, then put the knowledge capture and reuse with your team. I mean, if you have a robust way to onboard your team to roles within your organization, and they can do it because they have an AI assistant or something that's your core knowledge of what you have within your organization, I mean, that is just so powerful. So I think limiting your systems, spending more time with your customer, capturing and reusing your knowledge. Yeah. And really throw your customer journey across the organization and hold everybody in the team accountable to some spot of a wow moment.
Yep.
One, it ties them into the overall goal of the business, and it gets you to have conversations of like, how is finance and operations actually helping in the sales process? Oh, well, here's how they help.
Yep.
So,
One last thought on this too. You're commenting
yeah.
jokingly about like, oh man, not another customer journey map. But what I have found, and we've probably done hundreds of these over the last, well, for me personally, I've probably done hundreds of them over the last 10 plus years across practitioner roles and then all the different companies we've worked with here at CXE. And here's the biggest thing I've learned. Number one, it's what you just said, where it's milestone moments or it's the milestone moments across awareness, consideration, conversion,
Yep.
onboarding, account management, and then loyalty. So milestone moments, identifying what are the major things that people that are actually paying the bills, not the director, not the CEO, not the COO, not the CTO. Now, what those people, frankly, they don't matter because in today's world, if you ain't building stuff, based on what the market wants or based on what the market is telling you to go to or is telling you the value will be achieved by the way, sometimes the market's confusing. Like me and you,
Oh
Joe,
yeah.
we've had a bunch of examples working together over the last couple of years where it's like, we thought for sure, oh, they care about this, they care about that, and they care about this. And then we'll definitely be able to upsell a bunch of people. And then you
Yeah.
find out, no, they don't actually care about two of those three things. It's the third thing that provides or gives all of the value. So it's like
Mm.
customer listening, voice of customer reporting.
Oh,
And then
man.
your point about the
It's the
space,
last most important pillar, right?
it is. It truly is. It's making sure that every product roadmap, every OKR, every daily, weekly performance management set is literally coming back to the why being this is what our customers have said, or these are some of the potential solutions that we can build based on what we've learned from our customer listening.
Yeah.
Lee, I'd love to dive into the fourth and final pillar of
Yeah.
feedback. You spend just a couple minutes kind of talking about what are some of the ways that you and your team today are sort of going about collecting, assessing, and acting upon your customer feedback? And then what are some of the ways that you've already shared a handful of how you've been leveraging your team's feedback, but love to just kind of hear you talk about customer and employee feedback for a few minutes.
Yeah. I'd love to say that we have this completely buttoned up, but it's like I said earlier, kind of dusting off the playbook and starting from square one. But this is why I'm hiring this great guy, Adrian, as my fractional CMO or CXO to come in and help me here because yeah, time constraints. But no, I think I think the biggest thing that any business or any team, anything you're doing with customers and product, and I mean the two biggest points of feedback is your team and your customer.
Yep.
Your team because they're living it all day and they have great access to your customer, and your customers. I think the thing that and I'm totally spacing the book, but it's from I think I said it's Levy. Anyway, I'm gonna have to. Anyway, falling in love, don't fall in love with the problem. Basically, I've forgotten his name. God damn, I'm having one of those moments. Anyway,
Yuri? It's your Yuri
Yuri,
bud.
yeah, yes, for ways, and his whole book is basically, don't fall in love with your own solution, fall in love with the problem. And so
100%.
I think that gut check of like, and this, I mean, the history of Finch is ripe with this. It's, great, I think great intentions of the two past founders, but they just, they locked themselves in a room, built a product nobody wanted, and now, that's having the stuff that we're having to back out of. But, like we had a great program at Yellowfin where we had a really robust feedback process for not only our team but our customers. We had advisory boards. We really truly listened to the needs of not only the industry and things like Gartner, which sometimes can actually lead you astray. And then, being able to really just validate, is what we're doing adding value? Is it really what you need? And, there's a balance there, right? Not everything the customer asks for, you should do, but you should have a process in place to say, I hear you, we've reviewed it, and we are or are not going to be doing this. And so that health of that, those 360, and even for your internal team, like honor and respect the voice of your team, and
Absolutely.
give them the understanding of why. Because a lot of times I think it's just like, we don't have time for that. But let them know, they should be close enough to the business, the strategy, and understanding like, this is why we're going this way. This is why we're not taking on any more things to get this thing out on time, because we promised this customer for this, retention, growth, or differentiation in the marketplace. So being able to really have that feedback loop will help you drive better products and retain more customers and grow, but it'll also bring your whole team on that journey with you.
Yeah.
So
I love it,
hope I
Lee.
answered that. That was a
No, you
ramble.
did. No, you definitely did. Just a few things I want to follow up on. Number one is um your comment about Gartner. There's so many companies out there, Lee, especially for our friends that are founders and our friends that are listening right now that are actually in the building stage, right? They're building their business. They're not at the point yet of 15 years of sampling and customer work and data and all these different trends in industry. And then following an industry for 15 years, you're going to know so much stuff. It's not even funny, but like some of our friends that are maybe in the first couple of years and they're building towards their first $1 million in revenue. I'm blown away by how often we see this a lot at CXC with our clients and our prospects, but starting with Gartner, G2, Capterra, Google reviews,
Mm.
Trustpilot, like guys, a lot of you aren't starting something that's brand new on planet Earth. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a slightly different iteration of a thing that's already got a million reviews out there. Spend
Yeah.
some time understanding what those reviews are. What are the pros? What are the cons? What are the trends? What are the themes? If any of our friends that are listening are getting more and more comfortable with AI, scrape some of that shit, pull it into
Oh
a
yeah.
natural language processing solution, create word clouds on positives, negatives, value points, what people would spend more money on, what people would never
Yeah.
pay for. And then last thing is this, and I say it all the time, you guys are probably sick of me saying it, but I just know that it sticks in people's brains. Um, don't build a space lamp when people just want
Mm.
a fall down light. You got to remember that. And I know that our friends in product, they have a tendency to want to, the next flashy thing or the next bright color, or the next if a customer doesn't care about that, and if that's not adding value or that's not equaling your ability to retain minimally or upsell, cross-sell ideally, or last thing, and Lee, you and I talk about this all the time. Our customer-focused business leaders out there, CX and CS and contact center leadership, we've officially entered the world, and we don't have it's not our opinion anymore. We have to be a part of creating revenue, and we have to be a
Oh,
part of
100%.
creating new leads, new qualified leads, new prospects. That's part of the game now, man. That's not going to change. We've entered into that world. So just a few thoughts, but
No,
Lee,
no, and I mean, just on that, well, one thing just on that feedback piece, and I think that is going to be even more important because you're right. I mean, if you look in the amount of tech companies in the MarTech space, it's it's insanely overwhelming. Like there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people doing a slice of that revenue pie, and I think falling into the trap of trying to get the badges from Gartner and the quadrants, and it doesn't the end of the day, what only matters if somebody willing to pay you,
yep.
not just once, but more than one time
Yeah, right.
for your product or service, because
Yeah.
that is what's going to build a healthy business. So
100%.
focus on why people are renewing, why they're not renewing, and make sure that you validate that, because one, you can build what, a mile wide and an inch deep, or you can be 3 inches wide and 100 feet deep. And people are like, I can't, your product or service is indispensable.
Yep.
And that's what a healthy business is built on.
100%, man. Amen. Lee, before I let you go, sir, anything, any announcements, any shout outs, anything that's coming up for you or the team at Finch that you want people to know about? And then most importantly, where can people get in touch with you, and where can people get in touch with your team at Finch if they want to learn more about the awesome product and services that you guys are offering your customers today?
Yeah, no, great. Finch.com, reach out and check out what we do and what we try to, and how we help our customers. And yeah, really excited. We've been working the last 12 months on a complete revamp of our product, and trying to really understand the problems in the agency space, mostly for how people tell a better data story and own that narrative to their customer base. So we'll be launching a new product here towards the end of June. I think my product manager is going to get mad at me, but maybe mid-July. But our goal is to just, again, elevate the narrative. And then for me, yeah, reach out on LinkedIn. And I'm a huge fan of just Adrian's work, the CX, and I'm passionate about customer experience management. So yeah, glad to connect, chat with anybody. And thanks again, Adrian, for being on. It was great to come back after 100 episodes and just to see what you've been doing on it. And I know we chat a lot, but I do really appreciate it. All you guys have done. Your whole team at CXE has really helped me put in better process and the 4 pillars, and really just hold true to trying to stay focused on not only just team experience but my customers. So thank you.
Well, number one, I really do appreciate that, Lee. I've been just extremely I've just found so much fortune in the friendship that we've built, and the business relationship that we have, and again, man, and then just all of the things that you've done for me and for helping to push CXC forward. So I really do appreciate that. And then last thing is this: we definitely we need to remain in touch as always, but I definitely want to call out, guys, like. One of the things I was super pumped when I was telling Lee, like, you got to come back on the show. We got to highlight the story. You're doing all these awesome things with Finch, but guys, we are now moving into a world where today you might be the director of customer success, customer experience. Maybe you're the vice president of CS. Maybe you're the vice president of client services, inside sales, account management, whatever the hell you guys are calling it. We are building muscles, and we are building intelligence, and we are building business intel that is going to create huge opportunities for many of us to literally go be tomorrow's C-suite executives that are running tomorrow's future companies because of the work that we're doing, and because of just how the web that me and Lee are talking about, right? The minute you start to understand sales, marketing, support, product, technology, finance, all these things, we are literally building an incredible baseline for why we should be the people that are running tomorrow's company. So Lee, love all the work you guys are doing. Huge thanks for coming back on the CXC podcast.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Absolutely.
Because I just want to tell people, because I think you're sitting here, if you're, making that stretch, every time you stretch to get into that next role, like, I just want to just say the same thing that Adrian said, like, make that leap, do that next thing, because the skills you've learned to champion your customers, to run an efficient organization, that is what actually is driving what is going to matter so much for healthy businesses going forward. So, I think the story I told when I first got the job as a chief customer officer, I actually picked up Bliss's chief customer officer book, read it on the plane when I arrived for my job interview.
Nice.
But those are the things you do when you just are like, don't be afraid to lean in and jump in and be that next thing, because yeah, if you're in the CX game, you got a lot of great skill sets behind you to drive amazing things for your organization.
100% agree, brother. 100% agree. Lee Roquet, thank you so much for joining the show, man. And I'll be looking forward to chatting with you real soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Have a good day.